Hello everyone, I'm Joe Ackourey, and welcome to the Fly of the Week. For this episode, episode 37, I'll be tying the March Brown Spinner. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, here we go, the March Brown Spinner. Place your hook in the vise, making sure that the shank of the hook is parallel with your tabletop. And now the first step to this fly is putting the wing on. We need to know exactly where that wing is going to go, so we're going to use our method, or my method that I've taught you from previous lessons. We're going to wrap thread around the shank of the hook, stopping at the midway point or the halfway point, and then wrapping back up half of that. Now just keep in mind that we're including the eye of the hook with that. So that's exactly where the wing is going to be set. Now, most of your spinner wings are made from polywing material and other synthetic materials, or even Hackle. I like to use my Compara deer hair, the medium shade, for this March Brown spinner wing. You know, if you've ever fished a March Brown spinner fall and captured one of these bugs, these mayflies, you see how heavily veinated the wings are, and I feel like the deer hair satisfies that. So I'm going to take a little bunch of that, you know, approximately 3/4 of a gap, clip off a little bit, and then clean out all the fuzz in between the fibers or the deer hairs. So you're left with the natural ends and the cut ends. You're going to need to stack that in your hair stacker, and you always place the natural ends inside the hair stacker. Give it a couple taps, which will line up. All the natural ends. Let's see what we got. Very good. Maybe 1 or 2 long ones. Now, we got to measure the length of this wing. We're going to include the eye of the hook, because we're proportioning materials to the hook. This so happens to be a size 10 hook, dry fly hook. So there's our wing length, and we're going to pop that right in that sweet spot. So now I'm going to attach this wing just like I do for a Compara wing. You know, I put a set in the wing with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wraps, 10 or 12. We'll put 2 more in. And then remove those wraps, just like so. And you can see that clearly has a set in it. So my next wrap, you could see how deep it goes, because the thread goes into the bunch of deer hair, because I already put a set in it. And that's the key to this wing. So when I go to spin it, it easily encompasses the entire circumference of the hook. And let's clip off this exit. And the reason why I do that is because when I'm tying smaller flies with the deer hair, it eliminates this bump, because that bump, that typical bump with deer hair, is spread around the entire circumference of the hook. And that way it eliminates the bump, or leaves a less footprint or signature of the bump. So as you can see, that's pretty much gone. So now I'm going to gather all that deer hair up, and I'll point it to the camera a little bit. Gather it up from the base. Pull up on your wing. There's your Compara wing. But again, we're not tying the Compara. So I'm going to just eyeball it, and I'm going to clip the top of this wing off. Just like so. Hopefully I got equal bunches on both sides. Now I'm going to do a figure 8. If it's in the back, throw it in between and to the front. And just repeat this process 4 or 5 times, and you'll get your perfect spinner wing, or spinner wing. There we go. Now, to lock that in, I'm going to pull the wing back, put a couple wraps in the front, and repeat that process in the back. Okay. The wing looks a messy right now, but this isn't the final product. Okay, so our wing is is in the correct position. It's spent just like a spinner wing. And now I'm going to move to the back and put a tail on. So I need to get a good foundation of thread there. I might go back one more time or twice and get a good foundation on there so that when I put the tail on, it has something to bite into instead of just a bare hook. Now for the tail, I'm going to use like a dark ginger hackle fibers. So the rule is you just gently draw the fibers down until they're perpendicular to the stem of the feather or the hackle. So I kind of like this bunch better. And I always pull my tails out or any material in the direction in which it's facing. I wouldn't want to pull this side out and then have to fumble with it and mess up the nice alignment. So I'm just going to grab this bunch here, and it's pointing in the right direction. Get rid of these couple. There's my perfect tail, guys. Now, the length of the tail equals the shank of the hook, including the eye. Just like so. Take that bunch. Make sure you're all the way back where the shank of the hook and the bend meet, and just pop your tail in place. And there you go. There's our tail. Now, I like to pick the tail up, just like my previous episode, kick a couple of wraps of thread underneath it, kind of fan it out a little bit, and lock it in. Okay, so far, we have our tail, our wing and our tail, both of which are in proportion with the hook. I'll give you a little preview, and it's messy right now, but I'll clean it up, obviously. But it's got a really nice spinner profile. So now I really like to put a dark rib in this body, because that's the next step. We want to start building our body. So I usually use a dark brown rod wrapping thread. It's a braided line, size A. I tie that in along the side, wrap that back up against the tail. Now you see that gap in between there? I'm just illustrating something to you guys. Get rid of that. You want to have that tightly up against the body. I'm sorry, up against the tail. All right, just like so. No gaps. That's amateur style. You want to have a well put together fly. So let's get started on the body now. The body is made out of my March Brown fur blend, all natural fur blend. Draw out real small amounts. Dub that on your thread. Make a nice loop dubbing noodle. My blends are super easy to work with. Makes a really nice dubbing noodle, and slide that into position. Now, begin to build your body. So I'm going to pick up the rod wrapping thread, pick up the tail, kick in 1 or 2 wraps underneath the tail, return your ribbing to your material clip, and begin to build your body. Take your time. If you want to taper, just keep slightly overlapping the previous wrap. Just like so. We're starting to capture a couple of that wing material. That'll happen, no big deal. Repeat the process for your body. We have a little bit more to go. Dub that on. Slide that up to the existing body and continue. Boy, it's looking nice now. Now, pull your one wing back, do a figure 8. Pull the other, now you went from the back to the front, go from the front to the back. Okay, I'm almost there. I need a little bit more. Get some more of that March Brown fur blend. Dub that up. Create a nice lean noodle. Slide that into position. You're going to capture some of these deer hair fibers, so no big deal. We can clip them off. Now I'm going to go in between. I'm going to try to angle the fly to the camera. This is a very effective pattern, guys. It's pulled many a rabbits out of the hat for me, that's for sure. Something about a deer hair wing for this March Brown spinner. So now we have left with our ribbing. So for the spinners, I like to do a tighter rib because they are slightly darker than the duns. And this adds an incredible contrast for the body, for sure. Try to get one more back there. And now go to the front. I'm torquing down pretty hard. As you can see, the hook bending. Okay, lock that in. Clip off the excess. We have a little bit of cleaning up to do. Tie our finishing knot. Start cleaning it up. Very little cleanup to do here, fellas. So it's looking good, looking really good. Last step is putting a drop of head cement. Secure that knot. There you have it, guys. March Brown Spinner. Excellent pattern. It's an excellent hatch, or I'm sorry, a spinner fall to experience. Stay on the stream a little bit later. Just before dark, you'll see the male and female spinners returning to the stream and mating above the fast water before the pools. And you'll see when they start to feed on them, they feed on them in a different characteristic of, they don't smack these, they just gingerly take them off the surface. You'll see a dorsal fin, a tail, wiggle, maybe a snout, and they're just secretively sucking these flies in, and it's another feeding opportunity for trout, but also another excellent way to catch fish. The spinner fall is awesome. I love fishing the March Brown spinner fall. So I just want to thank you all for joining me in this episode, and I'm looking forward to the next. Tight lines, fellas. Tight lines.